Welcome to Seek Reality. This is Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy that you're with us today. One thing I realized even before I graduated from law school a million years ago was that I did not want to be a courtroom attorney. And what do when you've just been to law school and you suddenly realize you don't want to do what you're trained to do? Well, one thing I thought about doing was becoming a certified financial planner, and that was then a brand new thing. So I became a CFP, and I just spent only 1 year doing it because I was at home with a baby, and they didn't like that. To do it in 1 year was no go, but I still did it in 1 year. Now they make you do it in 2 years. I'm CFP number 812 in the whole United States. I was ridiculously overqualified, of course, to work with anyone but business owners. And that's what I've been doing actually for the past 40 years. I still do it because I love to do it. And family businesses are my joy, as I still work with a few that I've been working with ever since. And therefore, when a book by our guest today came across my desk, I started to read it. And I decided this was something that, even though it's a little outside our normal bailiwick, it was a book I wanted to talk about, because even if you don't have a family business, the kinds of issues that family businesses face, and frankly, his clients are a little out of my bailiwick because he deals with Hollywood, he deals with celebrities. Their issues are not yours, but frankly, many of these issues are universal. And so our guest today, Dr. Noah St. John, and his book are going to be something that we're going to talk about, that you'll find these are the kinds of issues that everybody faces. Now, he's written more than 40 books, but his most recent book, I think, is something you're going to want to hear a lot more about. It's called The Seven-Figure Life: How to Leverage the Four Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. His book is really about achieving more balance in your life, because we all work, don't we? We earn money, we have families, we have spiritual matters, spiritual lives. All these things affect everybody's life. And I think his book, frankly, I loved his book. And it's something I wish I had had to work with clients of mine 30 and 40 years ago. Noah, welcome. I'm so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Roberta. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
As I've already said, I think your book is great, and it shows that you understand how these issues affect people's lives. And most people who are dealing with these issues, even though they may have a job, they may be working with someone, maybe a coach of some sort, they still are dealing with these issues substantially alone. I mean, everybody goes through this life and faces these issues and tries to figure out how to kind of make them all fit together. And frankly, we're trying to figure all these things out. And you were dealing with them too in your own life, and trying to make them work. I don't even know how to attack these issues. You do it rather neatly in your book, but we have only a limited amount of time to go at them. So I'm going to kind of turn it over to you and ask you, how do we get started on this?
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Roberta. And yes, I just want to show folks, who are watching the program, this is the new book. It's called The Seven-Figure Life: How to Leverage the Four Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. Okay, and we're actually going to show you where you can get $300 worth of bonus gifts when you do get a copy of the book for yourself or, a loved one. But basically, I started my company, successclinic.com, 26 years ago. It was October of 1997. I was living in a 300 square foot basement apartment. I had $800 to my name and a book on HTML. And so if you remember being online in the 90s, if you can remember.
Even online in the 90s. So
well, yeah, see, that not many people were. And so, believe it or not, my company is actually 7 months older than Google. That's how long I've been doing this. And if for those folks who remember, if you remember the days of AOL and You've Got Mail, and it was all the
right. I remember that part. Yeah.
That right. And you couldn't put, there was long before the videos or webinars, or YouTube or any of the things that we have nowadays, or the
Right.
amazing tools and the speed, frankly, that we have today. So it was kind of like trying to build a house with a rock and some sticks. It was very, very
Yeah.
rudimentary, is what I'm trying to say. But see, I started my company from these very, very humble beginnings. Now, keep in mind, I had no money, no marketing, no sales, no business skills, no experience. The only funnels we had back then, everybody talks about sales funnels today. The only funnels we had back then was funnel cake. So, there was just really nothing like what we have today.
Right.
But really, even though I didn't have anything, I did have one thing, and that was a deep, burning desire to make a difference, really and I know it sounds corny, but a deep, burning desire to help people and to make a difference. And as Steve Jobs put it, put a dent in the universe. And so, that's where I started, and that's why I started my company way, way back then, over 26 years ago now. And what happened was I really didn't know how to run a successful business, or how to run a business at all, let alone a profitable or successful one. But I just, like I said, I had this vision and this mission, really, because I had discovered things, some very important distinctions that no one was talking about back then. And I'm talking about in the personal and business development space. And there were a lot of big gurus, and a lot of them are still around, some of them aren't around anymore. But I've been reading all these books, going to all these seminars for years, and spent an insane amount of time studying all the big names and realizing that there were these specific things that were missing, that they just weren't telling us. And that came from years and years and years of study and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars over a period of time. But my point is that I started my company, and with very little, and then I ended up as people would pay me, they would hire me to coach them, or maybe hire me to come in and speak, do keynote speeches, presentations. I would do one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and things like that. So, and then I was writing books and selling those and things like that. But I still really didn't have the training. I didn't have the knowledge or the education. So I ended up hiring a lot of these gurus out there. And some are still around, some of them aren't. But the point is that what I realized is that they truly suck at teaching. They truly suck. And what I mean by that is they're great at self-promotion, right? And all the big name gurus, you see them every day. If you go on social media or YouTube or whatever, you see them everywhere. And the point is, because they're so good at self-promotion, they don't really have to be good at teaching, or coaching. And they really don't have, in most cases, they don't really have a system. And what I mean by that is it's the difference, and I've been teaching this for many, many years now, the difference between personality-driven success and system-driven success. So personality-driven success is exactly what it sounds like. It's dependent on that guru's personality. Right. And if you watch these guys, they have a big personality, larger than life. Here's my plane, here's my helicopter, and things like that. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that if it's all about someone's personality, what if you don't have that personality? Right. And the answer is, well, you're out of luck. Right. Because that's it. There's no there. And so what I've developed is a system for success. And what makes it a system is that anybody can do it. And, like when you go to my website or you Google, if you Google my name, Noah St. John, or Google, some of the programs that we have, whether one-on-one or group coaching, you'll see that there are so many case studies, over 1,000 case studies now of people who I've helped to add 6 and 7 and even 8 figures and more to their business in record time. And I mean, I have so many stories, I can share some of them with you. But the point is that I always was looking for a system, and nobody had one. And so I had to create it myself. And really, that's what this book is about, right? It's about, because, I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. I don't come from wealth. I don't come from money. I come from poverty, real poverty, as well as poverty consciousness, meaning, that's how I was raised, to think poor, because I grew up poor. But the irony is I grew up poor in a rich neighborhood. So I saw that even though my family was poor, I saw that right down the street, there's great wealth and abundance. So from the time I was very young, I literally was always constantly saying, how the heck do I get from here to there? And that's why I started studying all these things,
Right.
because I hated being poor. I hated it. There's nothing good about being poor.
That's right.
Some people talk about, oh, it's more spiritual to have, I'm like, well, then you haven't tried it, I don't think, because no, it sucks. There's nothing good about it. Anyway, so that's really what, this book and really all my books are about, is about helping people and giving people a real systematic approach to success so that they can have, the health, the wealth, the happiness, the real freedom lifestyle that I think most people want.
No, that's a good summary. But what I liked about your book was that it was accessible. People didn't need to think in complex ways to understand it. It's short. It's not that long. It's short words. It's simple concepts. I found it to be a book you could skim if you didn't like reading. It was a good, I think it's a very accessible book. And nowadays, anybody who writes a book that's not an accessible book, I don't care how many books he sells, he's not going to make a dent because nobody is actually going to read his book. It might line shelves, but it's not going to get read. And I found your book to be very readable, and that's number one. Number two, I know these concepts because I've been teaching very similar concepts my whole business career. And I think your concepts work. And I think that's very important. But you put tweaks in them that make them work better, which I like, because I don't like the notion of new concepts that I'm pretty sure won't work. That kind of disgusts me. But I like the idea that you added concepts I think would probably work better. So I'm going to sort of give your book to a few people that I know probably could use it.
Thank you very much.
So I liked that as well.
Thank you.
But let's talk about affirmations, because affirmations, I'm a spiritual person. I use affirmations. In fact, I use gratitude affirmations, which work very well. They work much better than regular affirmations.
Yes.
And therefore, I teach gratitude affirmations. But affirmations are something a little different. So I'd like you to sort of teach affirmations to my audience. Would you do that?
Absolutely. Yes. And for the folks listening and watching the program, I want you to realize we're saying a new word here, and it's affirmations. This is a word that I invented 25 years ago, and it's AFFORMATIONS. And by the way, you can go to affirmations.com and learn more about this. This is one of my books from Hay House, by the way. I'm just showing you that we're using a new word. She's not pronouncing it wrong. It's a new word for most of you listening to the program.
And he's going to teach it now, what it is, and I can see why it would be a little twist that works. So let's talk about it.
So going back over actually 26 years ago now, I had been reading all those books, like I was telling you, because I, hated being poor, and I read every self-help book out there, and every self-help book says,
I'm not going to be poor. Okay.
Right. I'll say the same thing, right? You say these statements, and, they're called affirmations, and we've been taught this for, centuries, and everybody says the same thing, right? And you say, I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful, and your brain goes, no, you're not, right? We say these positive things, but most of the time we just don't believe them, right? So this is what I was doing, right? I've been doing it for years and years and never got anywhere, right? You're doing exactly what they said in all those books. I mean, I had Post-it notes all over my walls, and I was saying them over and over, and just like they taught me, I'm happy, I'm rich, I'm successful. And the reality was, no, I'm not. I'm broke, unhappy, and miserable.
So you were a very hard case for someone who was teaching a spiritual approach to financial success. You were a very hard case.
Oh my gosh, I was doing everything they told me, and it never worked. Right. And I'm going, what the heck is going on around here, right? I'm doing what you said.
No matter what you do. Right.
What the heck? How come this isn't working? I was so frustrated, right? And of course, I've come to find out that millions of people feel just like I do.
Right, of course.
We're literally the silent majority, because what's happened in the personal development industry is that because we've been pounded by people who say affirmations are the only way, and I mean, that's been the only way for centuries.
Uh-huh.
And so, it's basically like, many years ago, human beings thought the earth was flat because, well, of course, walk outside, dumb. Of course, the earth is flat.
It's flat.
Come on, duh. What's wrong with you?
Right.
And then, it was actually in the 6th century that actually Greeks like Pythagoras and Eratosthenes proved that the earth is round. So, I mean, literally thousands of years ago, this was proven, but anyway, even though some people still believe it today, which is insane. But anyway,
I know.
So
I know.
And then, of course, for thousands of years, humans
Doctor,
believed that.
For heaven's sake, you can tell it's flat. There's just no way around.
Right. You just see it, right? Duh. Right. And same thing with, the sun goes around the earth. Well, of course the sun goes around the earth, dumb. Just walk outside.
Watch it fall.
Duh.
Right.
Right. And then a guy named Galileo comes along and says, he's got a telescope. He goes, guys, I hate to tell you this, but the earth's going around the sun. And guess what? They throw him in jail.
With good reason.
What in all of these cases, what happened was a change in perspective.
That's right.
So that's what I've given to the industry and really to the world. Not to overstate the point, but now we have over 2 million people who are affirming instead of affirming.
Right.
Right. And that's what I invented 25 years. I happen to be the person who invented this.
Yeah, right.
Anyway. And so an affirmation is a statement of something you want to be true, right? What we all know. I'm happy, I'm rich and successful. And your brain goes, yeah, right. Right. So we say these positive statements. We want to believe them, but in 75% of the cases, we just don't believe it. So, in fact, a scientific study was actually done on this very topic, and it showed that 75% of people, when they use the old affirmation method, they actually end up more frustrated than before. So imagine if you had a smartphone that didn't work 3 out of the 4 times you tried to use it. You'd probably get a new phone, wouldn't you? Well, that's what I invented. I invented a better phone.
Step on the old one first. You would
exactly, but I invented a better phone, a phone that works every single time. So the point is, my affirmations method. When and by the way, I was literally in the shower when I realized this. When I had this epiphany, it was April 24th, 1997.
Shower
I call
epiphany. Okay.
Yes, I call it the shower that changed everything.
Okay.
Because it's changed the lives of over 2 million people in the last quarter century.
All right.
So what I realized is that the human brain works automatically, not with statements, but questions.
Okay.
And in fact, I can prove it to you right now. I can prove it to everybody listening to this program right now. So if I were to ask you, Roberta, why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Do you know what just happened in your brain?
I have no idea. My brain just said, I have no idea why.
Right. But it's why it started to search for the answer. You search for the answer. And it's exactly like a computer, right? If you've ever searched for a file on your computer, let's say you're looking on your computer, I got to find this file.
Tried to Google the answer.
Or you Google it, right? Google is a search engine, which is exactly what your brain is. Your brain is, in fact, a search engine. Okay, because you're literally searching your files right now.
Okay.
And your brain is literally doing this. The sky's blue because I don't know, but it's searching. It's automatically searching. Now,
okay.
Notice you can't not do this. You can't not do it. It automatically happens whether you like it or not.
Okay.
In fact, psychologists call this the embedded presupposition factor of the brain. That's a fancy way of saying when you ask a question, your brain automatically searches for the answer. So I was standing there in the shower 26 years ago, and I said, wait a minute. If the human brain is automatically searching for answers to questions, why are we going around making statements that we don't believe? Why don't we just cut out the middleman? And I said, well, what would that look like? Well, let's see. You got the statement or affirmation, right? Let's take a classic affirmation. I am rich. You say, I am rich. And your brain goes, no, you're not. So you made a statement and you don't believe it. You are bashing into your own brain.
Okay.
So I said, if that's the statement, then what would the question be? And then I said, why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, when you ask that question, what immediately starts to happen in your brain?
You start looking for the answer.
Exactly. So what I'm teaching in my courses and my coaching, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching in my books and seminars, is the law of sowing and reaping. As you sow, so shall you reap. Now, this is an ancient law. It's been taught for centuries. And yet, what are most people doing? Sowing lousy thought seeds. Why am I so stupid? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight?
Okay.
Why isn't my business growing? Why can't I get more clients or customers or patients? Why is there more month left at the end of the money? When you ask lousy questions, what do you get?
Okay, you're going to get lousy answers.
Right.
Right.
And that creates a lousy life.
Okay.
So I said, wait a second. What if instead of asking lousy questions that lead to lousy answers and create a lousy life, what if we just flip the whole thing around, start asking empowering questions that lead to phenomenal answers and create a wonderful life? And as I was standing there in the shower, April 1997, 26 years ago, I said, holy cow, I think I just invented something. And so I had to give it a name. And the name that I gave it was what I just shared with you, Afformations. Again, I'm just showing you so you know that I invented this word, Afformations, Afformations. And I've been teaching this to my clients and in my keynote presentations, my seminars, and one-on-one and group coaching clients for the last 25 plus years.
Okay.
And so the point is that Afformations are an empowering question that immediately changes your subconscious thought patterns, thereby allowing you to change your habits, change your results, and thereby change your life.
So when you say, why am I so rich? Your mind does not immediately say, but I'm not.
Well, it probably will. It probably will at first. And the reason for that is because this is a new question for most of you. For most of the folks listening to this program, if you've never said that in your lifetime, which you probably haven't, unless you've read one of my books or heard my seminars or coaching, you've probably never asked that question. You're probably going around saying, why don't I have any money? How come I am so broke? How come I never have enough money? That's what you've been affirming up until now. So what's amazing about my Afformations method is two things. Number one, I want people to realize this. This is incredibly powerful and very important. Number one, every human being on planet Earth is already using my Afformations method. Every single person is already doing this.
But they're using it wrongly.
However,
but
the problem is number two. The problem is, yes, that they don't know they're doing it, number one. And number two, most people are asking, affirming, disempowering rather than empowering questions. So that's why when people learn my Afformations method in my books or in my coaching, they go, oh my gosh, Noah, I didn't even know I was doing this. Of course you didn't, because nobody told you.
Right. And you're doing it wrong. You're doing the wrong question. Right.
Correct. And that is creating your very life right now.
Which is not an empowering question.
That's right.
It should be, you should be asking yourself, why am I so rich?
That's right. And questions like that. So like in my books and in my courses, I give you hundreds of unique Afformations that are empowering versus disempowering. And I have so many examples of how my Afformations method has changed people's lives. I mean, literally going from $60,000 in debt to a six-figure income in less than 12 weeks.
And am I right?
Doubling, tripling, quadrupling someone's income in a matter of months.
And
going from 4 million to 20 million. I mean, it's just, the stories are incredible.
You give away 101 free questions. Yeah, we'll give you that in the program notes. Sorry.
Yes.
Terrific. Hey, if it works, we don't question it. We just let it work. No, yes. I'm serious about that. Because I know that gratitude affirmations work beautifully.
Yes.
So this is a different way to use a gratitude affirmation. If it's an affirmation, and that also works.
Yes.
Hip hooray.
Yes, it does.
Hallelujah. I love it. I just absolutely love it to pieces. So let's get your affirmations and start playing them day and night. I love it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And that's, yeah. So to your point, that's one of the reasons I invented Iaform audios. That's what you're referring to. So if people go to iaform.com, you can actually get a free 60-second stress buster where you can listen to Iaform audios. They're downloadable audios, and you can listen to them about ultimate health, ultimate wealth, ultimate relationships, sleeping better, lowering your stress and things like that. Because people beg me, literally, my clients beg me to create these audios so they could listen to them throughout the day. So you can literally do it. My clients listen to them while they're eating, exercising, or on the treadmill, or taking a walk, instead of listening to a podcast that, you know, you don't know what they're going to be talking about.
And we'll give you those, everyone, so you don't have to drive off the road. Don't worry about writing it down. It will be in the program notes.
Exactly. So those are also available. So the point is, we want to make sure that we are using all the different modes of communication to change our subconscious thought patterns. The 4 modes of human communication are reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So, you know, reading, you can read my books, you can, you know, take my online courses, you can write them down. Like we have an affirmations journal that you can write in. You can speak them out loud. You know, we have a lot of couples that use their affirmations. By the way, for those of you who have kids or grandkids, nieces, nephews, kids absolutely love my affirmations method. You know, everywhere from, you know, 6, 7, 8 years old, you know, to teenagers, college age, but kids love affirmations. And we have so many stories of kids who, you know, gotten better grades, improved their health habits, improve their self-esteem, their self-confidence. So definitely teach your kids and grandkids about affirmations. And that's how we can literally raise the consciousness of humanity one question at a time.
I think it's great. Hey,
thank you.
If you worked it out in the shower, I think that's an even shower revelations can be some of the best revelations of all.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's wonderful. That's terrific.
Thank you.
So what are some of the other things because one of the things about your book was it was full of things which I kind of wrote down. Okay, this is something I want to ask him about. Oh, here's something else I kind of want to ask him about. Much too much to talk about in this one conversation. What are some of the other things you want to make sure we get in and mention?
Absolutely. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have, Roberta. That's what I'm here for.
I wanted to talk about the affirmations. I thought that were very important.
Yeah.
But what are
wonderful
things you want to get
in? I just want to mention, you know, again, I'll just show you the book is The 7-Figure Life, How to Leverage the 4 Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. So people ask me all the time, well, what are the 4 focus factors, right? So what does that mean?
Yeah, these are 10 chapters and they're
exactly.
Very
and
important.
So that's really, thank you. And that's, you know, that's what, you know, the book is really about, these 4 focus factors. And so, you know, I've been coaching people one-on-one and group coaching for over 20 years now, and, you know, literally help my clients add 6 figures, 7 figures, even 8 figures and more in record time, literally making more in just 12 weeks than they did in the past 12 months while winning their lives back, winning back hours in their day and weeks in their year. And so the point is that I realized that one of the ways that I was doing that was with these 4 focus factors. And so I can actually tell you what they are by giving you an example. So like when I'm doing keynote presentations, you know, I'm a keynote speaker as well as an executive coach, a business coach, and things like that. So I get to speak to companies, organizations around the world. And one of the things I like to do in my keynote presentations is I'll say to my audience members, okay, now I want to play a little game here. And I want you to imagine that I'm going to give you $1 million. Okay, I'm going to give you $1 million right now. And everybody goes, wow, that sounds great, right? And I go, well, there's just one catch. And they go, all right, what's the catch? I say, well, I'm going to give you $1 million. And the catch is that you have no time to enjoy it. All right. You have absolutely no time, and you don't get to see your family or friends, and you got to work all the time, and you have, you know, too much to do, too little time, and, you know, no time at all to enjoy all this money. Right. Does that sound like a good deal? And they're like, well, not really. No, that doesn't sound like a great deal. I say, okay, I'll tell you what. You drive a hard bargain, but I tell you what, I'll give you $1 million, but you have to be sad, miserable, angry, and depressed all the time. Sound good? No, that doesn't sound very good. All right, fine. Fine. All right, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million, but you can't see your family or friends, and you have no relationships, no friends, no family. All right, and you have to be alone and you know, live like a hermit. Sound good? No, right? None of that sounds any good. And of course they're laughing, you know. So that's how I use the example of, you know, by really making it very visceral and very obvious that, you know, as great as money is, it's not enough. Right. So that's what the 4 focus factors are. They are, in fact, time, energy, relationships, and money. OK, so when you have an abundance of time, energy, relationships, and money, you know, you're living that, as I call it, the freedom lifestyle or the 7-figure life, you know, if that's what you wish to do, or it could be 8 figures or more, whatever. The point is that if you don't have these things that are in balance and in place, something's going to feel out of whack. Something's going to feel out of balance. I'll give you a quick example of this. I was talking with one of my coaching clients, and his name's Charles. And he had read my books, and, you know, was a big fan of mine, and he contacted me on my website and said, "Hey, Noah, I really want you to coach me." I said, "Okay, well," and we were discussing this. I said, "So Charles, I want you to tell me something. I'm just curious. How much do you think it's going to cost you if we don't put these in place for you? In other words, if we don't get these things in place and aligned and working for you in the next 12 months, how much do you think that's going to cost you in terms of, lost revenue, lost wages?" And he said, without batting an eye, he said $1 million. No, if I don't get this in place, I'm easily going to lose out on $1 million, in this next year. And I said, well, actually, that's really common. People say to me all the time, no, if I don't put this in place, I'm easily going to lose $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 a month. I mean, that's 6, 7 figures a year. That's a lot of money, right? So I said, it's very common. And then I said, I tell you what, just give me 10% of that $1 million, and I will find you $1 million in the next 12 months. In other words, if you give me $1 and I give you $10 back, is that a good deal? He goes, yeah, that's a good deal. So he did that. He paid me $100,000 to coach him one-on-one. That's 10% of $1 million, right? So he paid me $100,000 and I coached him one-on-one for 12 months. Well, I was taking him through my process and my methods, and he, is a really good client, and he did everything I told him to do. And in that year, I didn't find him $1 million in the next 12 months. Instead, I found him $1.8 million in just 10 months. So this just exploded his business. But what's even better than that is that, as great as the money is, he sent me an email recently. He said, Noah, guess where I am? I'm on a 7-week vacation with my wife. We just bought a new RV with all this money we've got. And now we are taking a 7-week vacation. We're driving around the Southeast, and we're having a great time. And so not only am I making more money than ever, I also have more time than I've ever had before. So that's an example of how, when you put these things in place, really life can get pretty amazing.
No, it's true. It really is. It makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And people can retire earlier. It's wonderful. It's really, I mean, I sort of have a little bit of a kindred feeling for you, because I've had the same kinds of experiences with some of the business clients that I've coached over the years, and it's a very good feeling when it works. They have to listen to you. That's part of the problem. They don't always listen. Many times they know better than you, and I've had that experience too. But if it works, if they're willing to listen, it's quite a remarkable
Yes. Thing. Well, we have a fairly rigorous process for who we take on as coaching clients, especially when it's one-on-one, for that exact reason, because, I want my clients to get results. And when you go to our website, you'll just see amazing case studies that are all real people, real results, just ordinary people who've gotten extraordinary results because they followed my formula, my method. And the point is that if you're not coachable, then, as you said, they're like, well, I know better than this, or, oh, I've heard this all before. And I'm like, well, maybe you've heard it, which you probably haven't, but you're not, that doesn't mean you're doing it. Just because you know something doesn't mean you actually are doing something, right?
In my case, which is somewhat different, because I've dealt with multiple generations, sometimes the second generation thinks they know better than their parents and their parents' advisor. And so I could tell you some stories. That's right. And but we would take more time than we have. But nonetheless, if they listen, it can work out really, really well.
Indeed.
It's quite wonderful. No, but I think your book is terrific. And it works very well, even for people who don't have their own business, where they have the opportunity to use their own talents and energies to really build their income. Even if you're working for someone else, whatever income you have the opportunity to either use that well or fritter it and spend it. And then you don't have it and it's gone. But if you choose to use your own money well, it's surprising what you're able to do in terms of building wealth. And that wealth can do remarkable things. I could tell all kinds of stories about people, even if they were basically, quote, wage slaves. They nevertheless bought a house every 2 years, for example. And
Mm.
over a 10 or 15-year period, they had bought enough houses that they were able to put all their kids through college, yes. And then in the end, they were able to have a wonderful retirement, for
Mm.
example. And
Hmm.
but they still had a good life, even while they were landlords. And the people who lived next door, didn't look as if they lived any different life. Those people who had put their kids through college and didn't have any loans. I mean,
Hmm.
two families lived just about the same. One had the American dream, and the other, had nothing in the end. It's all in how you live. And if
Mm.
you had this book really and really followed all the little tips and things and did everything right, you could really
Mm.
live the American dream. So,
Yes.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think that I think your book is quite wonderful. I think
Oh,
anybody can benefit from it, even if they don't have the opportunity to live a seven-figure life.
and that's, I'm glad you pointed that out, Roberta, because, when people hear the title, The Seven Figure Life, they assume that, oh, all he talks about is money. Well, I just proved that that's not true. I just showed you why that's not true. And also why I do teach and always have for over 20 years now, the four focus factors. So I've been teaching this for, longer than most people, that you see out there. And that's why I was actually very excited when my publisher asked me to publish this book, because this was actually the first time that I've codified this and really put it into a book form, even though it's something I've been teaching to my $100,000 clients for many, many years. So, this was a really nice way to get it, as you said, into more people's hands, so that no matter what you're doing, whether you have a job, whether you own your own business, whether you're just getting started or you're looking for a side hustle, or even if you're retired. So the seven-figure life, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be making $1 million a year, although of course nothing wrong with that. But I would rather see the person, like Charles, my client I was just telling you about, and of course he is making, into the high seven figures now, as a result of what I helped him with. But the point is that I'd rather see the person really be very, very happy having the time, the energy, the relationships, and the money, so that they're living the life that they choose. That to me is the most important thing.
And it is possible to be living a regular life and just doing it wisely
Mm-hmm.
and investing wisely
Mm-hmm.
and using your money wisely and
Mm-hmm.
living a life wisely and
Yes.
getting your kids through college without big loans,
Mm-hmm.
living a retirement lifestyle which is well paid for and
Yeah.
comfortable, and,
Yes.
and never ever having to live paycheck to paycheck, because you
Right.
can do that. You don't
Yes.
you don't have to live poor, even if your paycheck is not huge. That's one thing which I, as a CFP number 812 in the country, can tell you.
Mhm. Yes.
It's possible to live wisely. And I think your book has some very good tips on how to do that
Thank you.
as well.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And one of the things I do want folks to realize is that's why I share my story of growing up poor
Yeah.
in a rich neighborhood,
Yeah.
and want people to realize, because one of the objections people have is, oh, sure, well, it's easy for him. He's always had money. No, no, not at all. I mean, literally the first 30 years of my life, I was just as poor could be. And I was working all these jobs, I just call them survival jobs, because that's all I was doing. I was just surviving, you know. And then even when I started my company in 1997, from the years between 1997 to 2007, I paid all these gurus all this money, only to find out that they can't teach her out of paper bags. So I ended up losing all the money that I made anyway. So I want people to realize, and that's why I share my story. So I want people to realize, well, wait a minute, if he can do it, I can do it, right? It's not like I'm something special. It's just that I applied these things. And quite frankly, I didn't have anyone to help me. So I had to figure all this out on my own, and that's why they say, pioneers have all the arrows. I've got all the arrows in my back to prove it. So I can really save people a lot of time, money, and effort, and a lot of heartache that I had to go through. And that's, really, that's my mission here.
Well, I've so much enjoyed talking with you. I really have. And all of this, all the resources will be in the program notes. But it has been a lot of fun talking with you. We've come to the end of our time, and I think you have to leave us now. But nonetheless, this has been a lot of fun. Please consider yourself hugged. And
Oh,
everyone, this has been Roberta Grimes, and obviously this has been fun for me too. We don't usually talk about this sort of thing, but as you know, never forget, you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you really get what that means, it changes everything in your life for the better. And next week, our guest will be Kelvin Chin, who will be with us for the third time to talk about his latest book, which is After the Afterlife. Now, Kelvin has memories of extensive past life experiences, which I find to be rather freaky in some cases, to be frank. But I know Kelvin Chin personally, and I've known him for many years, and I know him to be a really stand-up guy. So I'm inviting him to come and talk with us. And next week, we're just going to be kind of skirting the edge of a few of the more amazing tales he tells in his really, I think it's a fascinating new book, to tell you the truth. But please be sure to join us for this one, which we're gonna sort of skirt the edges on this, but it's going to be quite a ride anyway. And this week we've been talking with Noah St. John, who's been here to talk about something we don't usually talk about, but I really, really enjoyed his book, and I think his book is quite worthy. I mean, I know a lot about what he talks about, and what he talks about is very genuine. Noah is the author of a book called The Seven-Figure Life: How to Leverage the Four Focus Factors for More Wealth and Happiness. And his book is real. It's down to earth. It's as I say, I know what he talks about, so I know it's real. And it's about achieving a more balanced life spiritually and in every other way. It's actually quite a spiritual book, in fact. In my younger days, I was trained as a CFP. I know this stuff is real. And I helped many people personally. I'm going to give this book to some people who I think really need it. I wish I'd had it back then, actually, to use with some people. I've learned that if you have the right instincts and use your money in the right way, it almost doesn't matter how much money you have or how much money you earn in your life. You can use your money well, and you can make a very good life for yourself. I think Dr. Noah St. John has written an excellent, really superb self-help book for people who are ready to get out of their own way and make the most of their lives in all respects, not just financially. It's really quite a well-done book. And now, of course, it's also time to once again mention that Seek Reality Online is your one-stop resource for all things afterlife. Just go to seekreality.com and start to learn for yourself that your own reality is eternal. It is. It's impossible for you to die. Learn the ultimate truth from Craig Hogan. He really is your worldwide expert on all things afterlife. And teachingsbyjesus.com is your single resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to us in perfect love by the greatest teacher of all. As Christianity, the religion that was created by the Roman Emperor Constantine and not by Jesus at all, as it finally dies, the genuine teachings of Jesus can finally come alive. Teachingsbyjesus.com is the Lord's own entirely religion-free website. It's made by Jesus in perfect love for you. And my nonfiction books, of course, are Liberating Jesus, My Thomas, The Fun of Dying, The Fun of Staying in Touch, The Fun of Loving Jesus, Embracing the Christianity that Jesus taught, The Fun of Growing Forever. And for young children, there's The Fun of Meeting Jesus. You can order all these books through bookstores, on Amazon.com, on BarnesandNoble.com, and most of the adult books, except the last, are also available as audiobooks. If you want to talk about any of my books or anything at all, just contact me through the green contact block on robertagrimes.com. I do answer every email. And all of the more than 500 past episodes of Seek Reality are available wherever audio podcasts can be found. You can listen to new audio episodes each week with the Seek Reality app you can find for free wherever free apps are available. And you can also see the new video episodes each week on Roku or on Fire Stick. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing, and never forget this, that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you, most of all in this entire universe, you are infinitely and eternally loved.